Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yusuf Ramadhan. I'm going to tell you my material for advanced academic reading class entitled Student Motivation in Speaking English. Okay. For the first one, I have a content here. The content have three highlights. For the first one is introduction. The second one is the method, and the third one is the result. In introduction consists of 3 points. First one, defining motivation. The second one is a framework for motivation strategies. And the third one is types of classroom speaking performance. Introduction. English as a second and foreign language has a great importance to be taught and learned. One of the more complicated problems of the second language learning and the teaching has been to define and apply the construct of motivation in the classroom. Motivation is what pushes a learner to try to learn in the traditional language of the teacher. To motivate. Crocker and Smith state motivation has been identified as the learner orientation with regards to the goal of learning a second language. From the ideas of motivation, there are three some points in driving the concept of motivation. For the first one, motivation is something different and it can be seen, but there is a psychological construct, behavior or effort, attitudes, interest, and value or desire. The second one, motivation can be seen as the successful aspect when learning a target language deals with speak the language or speaking skill. They practice their English both in the daily activities of teaching and learning process and in front of the assessor who come from other teacher or at the end of every semester. Speaking is the oldest and the most universal way from human being to express their thought and feeling, according to Wittgenstein. For speaking, it is important first to give a competence and then performance. Competence is more likely to the extent a communicator is motivated to be so. Motivation is the extent to which a communicator is drawn toward or pushed away from communicating competency in a given context, according to the moral. Okay, the next is definition. Defining motivation. According to the Gardner, motivation involves four aspects. The first one, a goal. The second one, effortful behavior. The third one, a desire to attain the goal. And the fourth one is favorable attitudes toward the activity. And the motivation is a diffuse concept and is often tied to another factor that influence the energy and direction of behavior factor such as interest, need, value, attitude, aspiration, and incentive. Okay, and the next is a framework for motivational strategies. Skill in motivating students to learn is a paramount important. Teachers are forced to rely on tricks, approaches in their attempt to manage their classroom and motivate their learners. The central question in designing a framework for motivational strategies is to decide how to organize learners into separated teams. Okay, uh, the first one, creating the basic motivational condition. There are certain preconditions to be met before any attempts to generate motivation to be effective. Some of these conditions are the following. For the first one, appropriate teacher behavior and good teacher-student rapport. Whatever is done by a teacher has motivational, formative, and influence on students. In the other words, teacher behavior is powerful or motivational tool. According Tanosulas, a key elements to establish the relationship of mutual trust and respect with the learners is by means of talking with them on a personal level. This mutual could lead enthusiasm. To motivate to learn, the students need both ample opportunities to learn and steady encouragement support of their learning effort. It is important that the teacher organize and manage the classroom as an effective learning environment. Furthermore, because anxious or aligned students are unlikely to develop motivation to learn, it is important that learning occurs within a relaxed and supportive atmosphere. The third one is a cohesive learner groups characterized by appropriate group norm. Fragment group is characterized by lack of cooperativeness, can easily become effective, thus reducing the individual members' commitment to learn. There are several factors that promote group cohesiveness, such as the time spent together and shared group history, learning about each other, interaction, intergroup competition, common trait, and the last is active presence of the leader. The next one is generating students' motivation. Ideally, all students exhibition and inborn courageously to explore the world, so the students are likely to find the learning experience intrinsically pleasant. Here are several factors for generating student motivation. For the first one, increase the learner goal-oriented. Goal-oriented is the extent to which the group turns into the pursuit of its official goal. Increasing of the students' goal-oriented could be achieved by allowing students to define their own personal criteria for what should be a group goal. The second one is making the curriculum relevant for the learners. To inspire learners to concern themselves with most learning activities, teachers should find out their goals and the topics they want to learn and try to incorporate them into the curriculum according to the chambers. If the teacher is to motivate pupils to learn, their relevance has to be the red thread per permitting activities. The last one is creating realistic learners' beliefs. Learners need to develop an understanding of the nature of the second language learning and should be understood of the fact that mastery of the second language can be achieved in different ways, using a diversity of strategies, and key factor is for learners to discover for themselves the optional method and techniques. Okay, next is maintaining and protecting motivation. There are two motivational maintenance strategies in motivating the learner in the classroom. For the first one is increasing the learner's self-confidence. The second one is creating learner autonomy. Okay, increasing the learner self-confidence. There are 5 approaches that support to help the learner's self-confidence by this way. First one, teacher can foster belief that competence is a changeable aspect of development. The second one, favorable self-concept in the second language. Competence can be promoted by providing regular experiences of success. Then, everyone is more interested in a task if they feel that they make a contribution. The fourth one, a small personal word of encouragement is sufficient. The five, teacher can reduce classroom anxiety by making the learning context less successful. B. Creating learner autonomy. There are 4 types of practice fostering the development autonomy. For the first one, source-based approaches, which is emphasized on independent interaction with learning material. The second one, technology-based approaches, which is emphasized on independent interaction with educational technology. The third one, learner-based approaches, which is emphasized on the direct production of behavior and psychological change in the classroom. The fourth one, classroom-based approaches, which is emphasized on change in the relationship between learner and teacher in the classroom. According to the Good and Propi, the simplest way to ensure that people value what they are going to is to maximize their free choice and autonomy. Okay. The next one is encouraging positive self-evaluation. There are 3 consists of 3 points. By employing appropriate strategies, the learner can evaluate themselves in a positive light, encouraging them to take credit for their advance. Here, there are 3 areas of the strategies. For the first one, promoting attribution to effort rather than ability. The second one is providing motivational feedback. The third one is increasing learner satisfaction and the question of reward and grades. If a learner is motivated to learn something, he often can do much more than anyone would have predict was possible. Conversely, if a student is not particularly interested in learning something, result learning may not even be close capability. Okay, the next is types of classroom speaking performance. According to the Brown, offer 6 categories to the kinds of oral production that learners are expected to carry out in the classroom. First one is imitative. One of the parts of legitimate language in the classroom is drilling. Drill offer learners an opportunity to listen and to orally repeat certain string and may pose some linguistic difficulties. Drills offer limit practice through repetition. Drills can allow one to focus on one element of language in the control activity. Drills can help to establish certain psychomotor pattern and to associate select grammatical form with the appropriate context. Here are some useful guidelines for successful drills. For the first one, keep the learner short or a few minutes of a class only or only. B. Keep them simple. It means that preferably just one point at a time. C. Keep them snappy. D. Make sure students know why they are doing to drill. E. Limit them to the phonology or grammar point. F. Make sure they unlimitedly lead the communicative goal. G. Do not overuse them. Okay. And next is intensive. Intensive speaking is defined as the self-initiated or formed parts of some pair work activity, where the learners are going over certain form of language. The third one is responsive. A good deal of the student's speech is responsive. Short replies to the teacher or learner's question or comments. Their reply are usually sufficient. Such speech can be meaningful and automatic. I have an example here. Teacher, how are you today? Learner, very good, thanks. And you? Teacher, what is the main idea of this essay? Learner, the UN should have more authority. Another learner, so what did you write for the question number 1? Learner, well, I wasn't sure, so I left it blank. The fourth one is transactional. Transactional language is carried out for the purpose of conveying or exchanging specific information. I have the dialogue, another dialogue. For example, teacher, what is the main idea of this essay? Learner, the student, the UN should have more authority. Teacher, more authority than what? Learner, that then it doesn't right now. The teacher, what do you mean? Learner, well, for example, the UN should have the power of force the country like Iraq to destroy its nuclear weapon. Teacher, you don't think the United UN has that power now? Learner, obviously not. We can hand out the conversation with the learner in a part or group activity as well. Next, the fifth one is interpersonal dialogue. Interpersonal dialogue is carried out more for the purpose of maintaining social relationship. The conversation is usual little trickier for the learner because they can involve some or all of the following factor: a casual register, colloquial language, emotional charged language, slang, ellipsis, sarcasm, and the covert agenda. For instance, I have another dialogue here. There is a Amy and Bob. Amy, hi Bob, how's going? Bob, oh, so. Amy, not a great weekend, huh? Bob, well, far be it from me to criticize, but I'm pretty miffed about last week. Amy, what are you talking about? Bob, I think you know perfectly well what I'm talking about. Amy, oh, that. How come you get so bent out of shape over something like that? Bob, well, thus, fault was it? Huh? Amy, oh wow, this is a great, wonderful. Back to square one for crying out loud. Bob, I thought we had settled this before. Well, what more I can say? Okay, the last one is extensive or a monologue. Finally, the learner is intermediate or advanced level are called on to give extended monologue in form of oral reports, summaries, and speeches. The form is more formal and deliberative. The monologue can be planned or unplanned. Teacher can use one of the types of the classroom, speaking performance, or make a combination based which one is the most proper for being applied to the classroom based on the condition of the learner. Okay, the next is the method. The design of this study is descriptive, quantitative. According to the Creswell, said the quantitative identifies a research problem based on trend in the field or on the need to explain why something occurs. Uh, in this research, the population become the sample. It is 35 students in the 10 grades in senior high school in Gresik. Next is the finding and discussion. First one, the researcher wants to know the first is the student's motivation in practicing speaking English through this local-based content, easy speaking. The second is the student's behavior or effort, attitudes, interests, and values or desire in practicing speaking English through this local-based content, easy speaking. Okay, the result conclusion. Conclusion. The following conclusion is based on the gathered information data from the questionnaire. The results show that first, the learner effort in practicing speaking English is 56.1% or something of some of the students of senior high school in Gresik have effort in practicing speaking English. The learners interested in practicing speaking English is 49.7% or some of students of senior high school have interest in practicing speaking English. The third, the learner's attitude toward practicing speaking English is 59.9% or something of the student of senior high school attitude toward practicing speaking English. Fourth, the learner desire in practice speaking English is 71.5% 43% or many of students of senior high school increase desire in practicing speaking English. The findings are using media is very important both to increase the learners' motivation and to give a big opportunity to learners to explore their idea. Second is giving more variation technique in the teaching and learning process in order to not monotonous. The last is giving prize, encouraging and giving extra point from learner who can express their idea by speaking English well. Fourth one is creating favorable atmosphere in the classroom.